After 8 years of this Liberal Prime Minister, farmers across Canada are just taking hit after hit. Increases in a punishing carbon tax, tariff on fertilizer, removal of vital crop protection products. Farmers can't take much more. Oh, but wait, there is more. Farmers got notice this week that they're facing yet another Liberal tax, this time on underutilized homes. This could cost Canadian farm and ranch families tens of thousands of dollars. Wow. Why is this government punishing farmers yet again with another Liberal tax?
Why, Frank? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my honourable colleague for his question. This government has always had the backs of farmers. Cash receipts are up. Obviously, climate change is costing farmers many dollars. On 30% of grains didn't make it to the market last year because of climate change. We're assisting farmers to make that transition, and we'll always be there to defend our farmers, and we should be proud of what the farmers do for us. Thank you.
The Honourable Member of Foothills.
Well, this just shows how out of touch this Liberal government is if they are defending farmers by using them as an ATM to pay for their out-of-control spending. Right. Most farm and ranch families have multi-generational homes on their properties. This tax will cost them tens of thousands of dollars. Even if the tax does not apply to them, the Liberals are threatening with fines up to $10,000 if they don't do the paperwork. Isn't it enough? This Liberal government is milking Canadian farmers with carbon taxes and punitive policies. Will the Liberals give farmers a break and exempt agriculture from yet another Liberal tax?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, our government has always defended farmers and will always be there for farmers. Obviously, there's always some issues that will arise, and I've mentioned climate change has been a major issue for farmers, affecting farmers, whether it was in eastern Canada or out west with the droughts. We'll always be there to defend farmers, and I'll be happy to work with the honourable member on the issue that he's raised. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Charleswood, St. James, Assiniboia, Headingley.
After 8 years of this Liberal Prime Minister, everything feels broken. Just yesterday, the Governor of the Bank of Canada confirmed that the carbon tax is adding a full 0.5 percentage point to inflation. While Canadians are struggling just to feed themselves, these Liberals are now planning to triple the carbon tax, making inflation even worse. When will the Prime Minister take responsibility for the inflation he caused, axe the tax, or move out of the way so Conservatives can fix the problem?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank my honourable friend from Manitoba for that question, and he will know that there's actually good news for families on the prairies, Mr. Speaker. As of April 1st, a family of 4 will receive up to $1,000 in Manitoba in the climate action rebate, Mr. Speaker. And referring to the Governor of the Bank of Canada, Mr. Speaker, he estimated that perhaps 0.1% will be related to the price on pollution in terms of inflation, Mr. Speaker. That is 1 cent for every $10. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Charleswood, St. James, Assiniboia, Headingley.
Mr. Speaker, the carbon tax is all pain and no gain. They've never met a single target that they've set for themselves. It's a tax plan, not an environmental plan. Now, after 8 years of this Liberal Prime Minister, everything feels broken. Yesterday in committee, the bank governor confirmed that taxpayers will have to bail out the Bank of Canada. Wow. While Canadians are struggling to eat, heat, and house themselves, with these Liberals, the Bank of Canada comes first. When will the Prime Minister take responsibility for breaking the bank and get out of the way so Conservatives can fix the problem?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as usual, Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are distorting the facts. Our emissions are going down, Mr. Speaker. We're on track to meet our targets, which are in 2030, Mr. Speaker. What did the Conservatives do when they were in power, Mr. Speaker? Absolutely nothing. For 10 long years, they did nothing on climate change. They abandoned the Kyoto Accord. They cut $350 million from the environment and climate change budget, Mr. Speaker. They gutted our environmental laws. And now, Mr. Speaker, they're blaming us for their inaction. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Liberal Prime Minister, Jan, a small business owner in Entwistle, is struggling under the oppressive carbon tax. With the cost of food, heating, and fuel skyrocketing, it's becoming harder for Jan and countless Canadians across the country to make ends meet. Conservatives will continue to keep the heat on and fight this tax to help all Canadians like Jan. Mr. Speaker, when will this government axe the carbon tax?
Great question. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, the price on pollution that our government introduced, or if the Conservatives prefer to call it a carbon tax, I'm happy to do so. It is actually a market-based mechanism. It's a capitalism-based mechanism that all experts agree is the most effective at fighting climate change. Mr. Speaker, even the Conservative Party temporarily campaigned on a price on pollution. Mr. Speaker, I think we can all agree that this is the most effective way to fight climate change, and that Canadians are asking us to fight climate change in order to protect our planet for the future and for our children.
The honourable member for King Vaughan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, Canadians can no longer afford to eat, heat, or house themselves. The situation is about to get worse. With the tripling of the carbon tax, seniors must choose between eating and heating. Conservatives will fight to turn the tax off so seniors can keep the heat on. So, I ask this Prime Minister, will he show compassion and remove the carbon tax?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Seniors.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the honourable member for the question. After 7 years and 3 months, we have been able to make significant progress for seniors. But don't take my word for it, Mr. Speaker. Take that member's word for it. The Conservative member from King Vaughan just last week was highlighting the other day at committee how poverty rates have dramatically decreased since we formed government in 2015. When we came into government, we made a decision to invest in seniors. We immediately reinstated the age of retirement back to 65. Mr. Speaker, that member would have had seniors work 2 full years to get the benefits that they paid for decades.
That's right.
The honourable member for King Vaughan.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if he had listened to the whole entire question, he would have answered it properly. They cut out the part where I asked, how much did CERB impact that figure? That's what Stats Canada asked. Sheila, a senior from Midland, would like to know why this government refuses to answer questions. Seniors demand accountability from the Liberal government. They are all talk and no action. Will this Prime Minister understand the benefit that seniors have brought to this country, show some compassion, let the Conservatives come and fix what they've broken?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, every day the Conservatives stand up and pretend to care about seniors. Day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out since 2015, they've stood to vote against everything that we've done for seniors in this country for 7 years, 3 months. You can't stand up every year and vote against the things that we do for seniors and then pretend to care about seniors. I'll tell you, Canadian seniors know a whole lot better.
After 8 years of this Liberal Prime Minister, Canadians are out of money and they can't afford to eat, heat, or house themselves. In fact, a recent StatsCan report found that a quarter of Canadians are not able to cover an unexpected expense of $500. Yet, this Liberal government continues to pile on new taxes, hike up existing taxes, and double down on their wasteful spending, which fuels high inflation and drives up the cost of everything. This April 1st, taxes on Canadian-made wines, beers, and spirits is going up 6.3%, and gas prices are set to rise 14 cents a litre. The Liberals want to triple the carbon tax. They call it an environmental plan, but it has done nothing to reduce emissions. It's simply another Liberal tax that steals hard-earned money from Canadians' pockets and gives it to this government. Canadians are suffering, and they need our help, not more Liberal tax increases. Speaker, Canadians can count on Conservatives to deliver to them the hope they need. They can count on us so they can keep the heat on and take the tax off.